Hi, guys.
Hi, Miss Cameron.
Hi.
I'll get you some water. Right on or off? What's it on?
It looks like we've got a few more people to wait on. So we'll wait just another minute or two before we get started this morning. Give me a thumbs up if you're doing good. Good. Raise your hand if you were not expecting a snow day today. I had no idea.
I don't think it's really a snow day. I think it's just because there's ice on the road.
Yes, it's more like an ice day, isn't it?
Why can't we just have a regular day off? It's not fair.
It's not my decision.
Yeah, and normally, for the first snow day, we don't have to do homework, and for the first snow day, we had to do it this year. It's kind of
Yep. That's because we have to do a remote learning day. Not sure who this is. Make sure that your name is either your name or it could be your parent's name. Okay, but make sure you're not changing it to something silly. That 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 people so far. We're still missing a few people, but we'll go ahead and get started. So just some reminders. This is a virtual day. We will still be learning on this meeting. And our rules are do not unmute yourself unless I tell you you can unmute yourself. And if for some reason you cannot hear me, or I'm cutting out really bad, what you need to do is sign out and sign back in. Okay, you do not need to tell me over and over and over that you cannot hear me, because that interrupts everybody else who can hear me. Okay, so make sure that you are not doing that this time. Another thing, if I was thinking that if we all do really well and we follow directions and we're not unmuting ourselves and talking when we're not supposed to, then you all will get some kind of prize when we get back into the classroom. Or if it's most of the people, then the people that are doing what they're supposed to be doing will get the prize, and the people that are not will not get a prize. Okay, so remember that. Make sure you're muted unless I call on you to answer a question. If you cannot hear me or I'm cutting out really bad, then you log off the meeting and ask to rejoin. Don't tell me over and over that you cannot hear. But those are the main rules, okay? And if we all do a really good job and are really good listeners, then I may have some kind of prize that you can receive on our return to school. Most of you should have all of your items that you need because you're supposed to take those things home every day. No, we don't take everything home, but you should have your orthography notebook and your grammar workbook. Those are the two main things that we'll need today, and you will need some paper. So if you do not have paper, you need to make sure you have paper near you in order to do our assignments. Okay. One other thing that I just want to ask y'all to do while we're learning, if you could please try not to eat snacks and play around. I would really appreciate that because when we're in class, in the middle of class, I don't let you sit there and spin around in your chairs and eat snacks and things like that. So let's try to keep that, try to not do that during this meeting today. Should not be very long today. I'm hoping maybe like an hour or an hour and a half, definitely not 2 hours. But definitely should not be too long of a meeting today. Another reminder, you guys have some assignments on Bright Thinker, so make sure that you log into Bright Thinker at some time today and do some of those assignments. The first history checkpoint that I shared with you guys was a little bit confusing. And so I went ahead and deleted that and added a different checkpoint that's a lot easier. It's multiple choice. So that one should be a lot easier for you to complete. Okay, so make sure you look at that and make sure that you complete the new one that I added. All right, so just a reminder, everyone on their best behavior, and you may get some kind of prize when we return to class. First thing we'll do today is spelling, so make sure you've got your spelling paper and your orthography notebook. If you don't have those items, go get them quickly. I'll give you a minute or two to get that.
Isn't it lesson 71?
It is. Hey, Kai, I know you're just joining. Can you hear me, Kai? Give me a thumbs up if you can. Can you hear? Okay, Kai, I told the whole class that we're gonna try really hard to follow directions and not unmute ourselves and tell things or say things that we shouldn't be saying in the middle of the lessons. And if everybody does a really good job, then I'm considering giving everybody a prize when we return to class. Okay. Okay, good. So make sure you're not unmuting yourself. Eliana, if you could change your name back to Eliana instead of hello. Hold on one second.
I didn't change it to hello.
Oh, okay. Well,
It's been like that.
okay.
I don't know how
Hey,
to
and
change.
listen, part of the following directions is not typing in the chat, okay? So that's one of the things as well. All right, everyone, if you just joined, we're getting our orthography notebooks. Declan, I'm not sure what to do for you guys. I don't know how to fix the audio. I would say maybe log off and log back in. But we'll go ahead and get started, okay? So this is lesson 71, and I'm going to present my screen and show you my paper. So let me get my screen shared for you guys. Okay, somebody is unmuted. Make sure you mute yourself. Here, I fixed it, I believe. Stay muted unless you are called on. And remember, if you have issues with not being able to hear or I'm cutting out a lot, then you log off and log back in. Okay. All right, so lesson 71, everyone needs their orthography notebooks out, ready to go. You should be able to see my screen now. I shared it with you. First thing I want to do is write down a few review words because we are going to have our spelling test tomorrow. Even if we do have to be virtual again, we'll still have the spelling test online, just like we've done before. So the first thing we're going to do is write down a few review words, okay? The first word I want us to review to make sure that we know how to spell it is the word imagine, okay? Imagine. I was trying to imagine what happened in the story. Imagine. Declan, you're already not following rules. Imagine. Okay, so how many syllables does that have? I-mag-in. But we think to spell imagine. Okay, imagine. Let's go ahead and write that word down, okay, because it's good to review words that we've had before. But you guys go ahead and write down the word imagine is how we think to spell it. Everyone should be writing down that word if you have not already. All right, here we go. So this word is, we think to spell imagine. Our first syllable is I. Okay, so that's just I-E. And then mag, a. And for this j sound, we're using j. And then ein is I, and then we have a silent final E, okay? That's the word imagine. Okay, so markings for this word, the first syllable, I, you could, if you say imagine, you could put a thinking cap over your I-E. Okay, but if you say imagine, you don't need anything for that first syllable. Our second syllable, we need to put a 2 over our j. And then in our last syllable, we've got a silent final E, job 1. Okay, but this is not really saying I, so we can go ahead and put a thinking cap over that. Okay, so that's the word imagine. That's one that will be on your spelling test this week. The next word that we're going to practice is the word imagination. Okay, so it's pretty similar to imagine, just a little bit longer, and it's got that suffix shun. Okay, so imagination. Imagination. Lots of syllables in this word. There are 5 syllables. Imagination. Okay, 5-syllable word. Go ahead and write that down. Imagination. All right, so our first syllable is I. Second syllable is mag, j. Our third syllable is in, I. Fourth syllable is a. And our last syllable is the suffix shon, sh, n. Imagination. All of our syllable breaks between our syllables. Now we can make sure we've got the words marked correctly. The first syllable is I. Okay, so no markings unless you say, well, you should say imagination. Imagination sounds kind of silly. Match, we've got to put a 2 above our j because it's saying its second sound. In, no markings in that syllable. A, that syllable is saying its name. So we need to underline. And then we all know how to mark the suffix because it's marked pretty much the same every time. Underline our tall letters and put a thinking cap over our A, O, U. Remember, we're not unmuting ourselves unless you raise your hand and I call on you. If everyone follows directions, then we might get prizes when we return to school. Okay, and make sure you are actually doing the learning, Brooks. Make sure that you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. We need to sit up and do our work. All right, so we'll go ahead and move on to the phonograms. We'll do these pretty quickly. Okay, so next we're going to write down some of our phonograms that we should already know. The first phonogram is R like rabbit. Okay, so go ahead and write down R like rabbit. I love how I see Ben writing down. I can tell that he's doing his work. Good job, Van. Thank you for showing me your notebook. Okay, here's the phonogram I just told you. It's a pretty easy one, just has one sound. The next one I want you to write down is Z. Z. Okay, so you should have written down this phonogram. There's two sounds, S and Z. The next phonogram is T. Okay, write down T. All right, so you should have 3 written down so far. The fourth phonogram you need to write down is V. V. All right, there you go. The fifth phonogram I want you to write down is W, not Qua, W. W. Whoever's unmuting, please mute yourself. Okay, and our last phonogram I want you to write down is X. X. Okay, Emerson, if you could please make sure your camera's turned on, unless it's not working for some reason. All right, so those are all the phonograms you should have written down, a total of 6 of them. Make sure you have those, and we'll move on to our spelling words for today. Okay, so even though you guys are not unmuting yourself, I still want you to say the spelling words, okay? And I still want you to sound them out with me and show me how many syllables there are and everything, but do not unmute yourself for that because it would be way too noisy on our computers if everybody unmuted at the same time, okay? So still stay muted, but I still want you to do this with me. All right, lesson 71. Our first word kind of goes along with one of our words from yesterday. Okay, the first word is untie. I needed to untie my shoes before taking them off. Okay, so say the word untie. Everybody say it. Okay, how many syllables does the word have? Ready? Untie. Show me with your fingers. 2 syllables. Okay, let's break out the syllables with our arms. Ready? Untie. Our first syllable is un. Let's sound that out. And our second syllable is tie. T, I. In that second syllable, just like the word tie that we did yesterday, you're using the phonogram EI. We say EI, but we write IE. Okay, so go ahead and write down the word untie. Write down the word untie. Hey, Declan, you need to turn your camera back on. That's one of our rules. Cameras have to be on so I can see that you're doing your work. Thank you. Okay, first word is untie. Okay, so our first syllable was un, n, and our second syllable was tie, and we're using the phonogram EI. Say EI, but we write IE. I. Okay, 2 syllables. And our first syllable, are there any markings? Un. Yes, no. No markings in the first syllable. Who can raise their hand and tell me what we need to mark in the second syllable? Ty. Kai, you can go ahead and unmute and let us know.
Underline EI.
Mm-hmm.
Letters.
EI, we say EI, but we write IE. And is it saying it's first sound or second sound?
Second.
I think it's second sound, so let's put a 2 above that. All right, go ahead and mute yourself back. Thank you, Kai. Good job. All right, so that's our first word, untie. Please make sure you've got that written on your paper and that it's spelled correctly. All right, word number 2 is the word volunteer. I wanted to volunteer to share my story in front of the class. Volunteer. How many syllables does that have? Ready? Volunteer. 3 syllables. Okay, good job. If you're showing me your fingers, thank you so much for doing that. Volunteer. Our first syllable is vol, okay. Second syllable is un, n. And our last syllable is tear, okay. Volunteer. In that very last syllable, there's an E sound, and for that E sound, we're going to use the phonogram E, always says E, okay? Volunteer. Go ahead and write down that word. Volunteer. Love how I see everybody writing down their word. You guys are doing such an awesome job so far. All right, so our first syllable is vol. So if we sound that out, it's v, ul. Second syllable is un. So n. And our last syllable is tear. And remember, I told you guys we're using E always says E. Okay, so r. Volunteer. All right, so in our first syllable, okay, every single one of those phonograms is saying its first sound, so we don't need any markings. Our second syllable is un, n. Again, no markings for that syllable. But what about the last syllable, tear? Who can tell me what we need to mark in that one? James, I think I see your hand raised. Can you unmute and tell me?
We have to underline the E always says E.
Underline E always says E. Good job. And that's the only marking for that syllable. Okay, so volunteer, please make sure you've got that all the way marked and written correctly. And we'll go ahead and move on to our third word. Our third word is welfare. Okay, I had to check on the welfare of my family. Welfare. How many syllables does that word have? Say it with me. Ready? Welfare. 2 syllables, okay? Our first syllable is well, so let's sound that out together. W, e, o. And our last syllable is fair, a, r. Okay? In our last syllable, that phonogram, the vowel, is saying its name. So who can tell me if a vowel is saying its name, what do we need to have at the end of that word in order to make that vowel say its name? I don't really see anyone's hand raised. Spencer, looks like you're raising your hand. You can go ahead and answer. You'll have to unmute yourself. Can you find the unmute button, Spencer? Okay, I'll have somebody else answer. Jack?
Silent final E.
Yeah, in that last syllable, we're going to need a silent final E in order for that vowel to say its name. So go ahead and write down the word welfare. Remember,
My
leave
picture's not popping up.
yourself muted, please, unless I call on you. All right, so our first syllable is well, wa, ul. And then our last syllable is fair, a, r, and we do need a silent final E at the end of this. Right, our first syllable is well. Do we need any markings in that syllable? Nope, no markings because they're all saying their first sound. And our second syllable is fair. What do we need to mark in that syllable, Katie?
Silent final E, job number 1.
Yeah, silent final E, job 1. It's making that vowel say its name. And that should be the only marking for that syllable and really that word. Okay, welfare. And our last word for today is an interesting word because it's got a silent phonogram in it. It is the word yacht. Okay, a yacht is a really big boat. Okay, everyone say the word yacht. How many syllables does that have? Ready? Yacht.
Yacht.
Remember, you're not supposed to unmute yourself to say the words. Yacht, just one syllable. Okay, ya, ah, okay, those are all the sounds we hear, but there is a silent phonogram and it's a double letter phonogram that is silent. Okay, we think to spell this word ya, ah, ch, t. Ya, ah, ch, t. Okay, so go ahead and write that word down using the silent phonogram ch. Ya, ah, ch, t. Write down that word. Right, Declan, remember we're all working to not unmute ourselves when we're in the middle of a lesson unless we're answering questions because we're trying really hard to earn a prize when we get back in school. Yeah, and then we've got a silent phonogram, ch and t. Yeah, ch, t. But the only sounds we actually hear are yeah, t. Okay, so that's how your words should be spelled. Who can tell me what we need to mark in this word? There's only one marking. Anthony? Can you find your unmute button? Okay, I'll let you answer the next question, okay? Maybe you can find it. Brooks, what do we need to mark?
It's not really about that, but like it kind of is. Why would they talk in the first place and double underline the ch?
Yes, we need a double underline that. And Brooks, I don't know. I don't know why they unmute themselves sometimes. Okay, so yacht, we've got a double underline arch because it is silent. We don't hear it in that word. Van, do you have a question? No? Okay. So those are all of our words for today: untie, volunteer, welfare, and yacht. What I want to do, I'm going to give you a few minutes to write these words next to it in cursive. We're not going to write a sentence today, but I do want you to practice writing these words in cursive, and I'll write them as well so you can see what they're supposed to look like. Okay, so there's untie. Yeah. See, sometimes even I mess up. Volunteer. Oops. Welfare and yacht. Man, do you have a question?
Aren't we supposed to put a 3 above the at a
Yacht. Oh my goodness. Yeah, we are. Thank you so much for reminding. Yes, the AAA is saying ah, okay, and that's actually something that I forgot to point out. So thank you so much, Van, for reminding us. We do have to put a 3 above that because it's saying its third sound. And that does not look like a 3 there. All right, thank you. But those are all the words for today. Untie, volunteer, welfare, and yacht. I'm going to give you like 1 more minute to write these words in cursive. If you don't finish, that's okay. But we're going to go ahead and move on after that minute so we can talk a little bit about grammar.
How long is the session going to be?
I told you probably about an hour to an hour and a half. Okay, remember, don't unmute yourself unless I tell you. All right, let's go ahead and put our spelling away. And if you have your grammar workbook, go ahead and get that out. If not, you can just write on paper for now. Okay, in your grammar workbook, I want you to turn to page 84. For the first part of grammar, you're not going to have to write down anything just yet. But for the second part, you will. Dan, you have a question?
Weren't we supposed to do these already?
I said in the instructions, it said if you did not complete it all in class, but if you already did them, then that's okay. And this first part is just a review game having to do with the prepositions. I'll say a
Page is missing?
page 84. I'll say a page or I say a preposition, and then you guys can raise your hand and see if you can come up with a preposition phrase. So for example, if I said the preposition to, you could respond with to the shore or to the mall, to the park. Okay. So let me pick a preposition, and then if you've got a phrase that could go along with that preposition, you can raise your hand. Let's do above. You've got a prepositional phrase you could share. Raise your hand. Ben.
Above the couch.
Above the couch. Okay, good. Above the couch. Good job. Anyone else have one for the preposition above? Jack?
Above the house.
Above the house. Yeah, that's a good one as well. Let me choose a different one. Let's do under this time. Who has a phrase that could go with the preposition under? Eliana? Make sure you unmute.
Under is a car.
Under the car. Good job. Emerson, did you have one for under as well?
Under the house.
Okay, under the house. Good. And we'll do one more for under. Caitlin?
Under the couch.
Okay, under the couch. Good. Let's see. Well, I'll choose one more and then we will move on. After. Okay, who's got a phrase for the word after or the preposition after? Brooks?
After lunch.
After lunch. Good. Van?
After the movie.
After the movie. Good job. Those are both great examples, and we'll do one more. Kai. Kai.
Me?
Yes.
I mean Monday, everybody Monday. 7 days from Monday, it's
You have a
Sunday.
phrase for after?
After school?
Okay, good. Awesome. Let's go ahead and move on to the next page, 85. It just says writing one sentence using
you.
the prepositional phrases from the game we just played. Write a sentence using one of the prepositional phrases from the lightning game. Okay, so let's see. One example that somebody said was under the house. Okay, under the house. Let's think of a sentence that could go, that could have the phrase under the house. Anybody have a full sentence that has that phrase in it? You have to have a subject and a verb, and then under the house. James?
We have to go under the house.
Okay. Yeah, you could say that. What is something that might already be under the house? Think of something that might, some animals sometimes like to burrow under houses. Jack, what is your example that you have?
The mice live under the house.
Okay, a mouse lived under the house. Yeah. Or a mouse hid under the house. That would be a good one as well. Okay, so let's just write down one of those examples. I'll say the mouse hid, because our subject is mouse, our verb is hid, and then our prepositional phrase is under the house. Okay. And Emerson, I just sent you a message, but guys, if you can wait to go to the restroom, that would be great, because our virtual lessons are not going to be that long. So if you can wait, that would be great. But if not, then just go ahead. You don't have to ask me. Okay, so the mouse hid under the house. That's our example that we came up with. If you came up with a different one, that's okay. I'm going to go ahead and turn the page to our analyzing sentences. We'll analyze some of them together. I don't know if we'll have time to do all of them, but this is page 86, so make sure that you are on that page. Okay, so our first sentence says, icicles slowly dripped from the rooftop outside. Our first thing that we need to do is identify the prepositional phrase. So who can tell me what the prepositional phrase is in this sentence? Eliana? Make sure you unmute yourself.
The prepositional phrase is From the rooftop.
Yeah, from the rooftop is our prepositional phrase. Okay, from is the preposition, rooftop is the object of the preposition, and the is an adjective that is modifying rooftop. Okay, so that's our prepositional phrase. Make sure you get that marked if you haven't already. What is our subject? What is the sentence about? Brooks, what is the subject?
Icicle. Like what? Like it's
Icicles, yes. Icicles is the subject, and what did the icicles do? Who can tell me? McKenna?
Slowly drip.
Yeah, they dripped, right? That's our verb, because slowly is actually something else. Okay, so now what we have left to label is slowly and outside. Okay, so slowly is what kind of word? An adverb or an adjective? Looking to see who's got their hand raised. Alana, what do you think?
slowly.
What is it?
Adverb.
It's an adverb, yeah. It is modifying the verb dripped. Okay, and what about the word outside? Is that an adverb or an adjective, Camden?
An adjective.
It's telling, what? Is it telling
The absolute value of y.
how, when, or where?
Square both sides here to get rid of this y, right?
Or is it telling
Where?
telling where? So is that an adverb or an adjective?
Adjective.
Adjectives are how,
Adverb.
which one, and what kind. So not an adjective, it's an adverb. Because adverbs tell how, when, and where. Okay, so that's our first sentence completed.
I need to go to the restroom really bad.
Declan, you are not unmuting yourself. I've already said that if for some reason you have to go to the restroom in this short amount of time, then go. Do not interrupt the lesson. All right, sentence B says the tiny snowflakes are dancing around the pine tree too. Okay, so what is our prepositional phrase? Anthony? I think you're good, so go ahead and talk.
Around the pine tree.
Yeah, around the pine tree is our prepositional phrase. Okay, around is the preposition. Tree is the object of the preposition. And then the and pine are both adjectives that are describing the tree. Okay, what about the subject of this sentence? Van?
Snowflakes.
Snowflakes, good job. Okay, and what are the snowflakes doing? What is the predicate? Trying to see someone maybe who I've not called on yet. Let's go ahead and go with Jack. A little bit.
Are dancing.
Are dancing, yes. We've got to include both of those words. Dancing is the actual action, so we'll label that predicate verb. And then are is a helping verb.
Verb because it helps the verb.
Make sure you are muted, please. Somebody's unmuted. All right, we got it. All right, so next we just got labeled the and tiny and two. The and tiny are both describing the snowflakes, so those are adjectives. that you are muted. I'm not sure who that is. That's so distracting. All right, and then 2 is an adverb that is modifying the verb are dancing.
To build a problem than the old farmhouse.
I still have students that are forgetting and unmuting themselves. I hope that we're focusing and working hard to earn a prize when we come back. All right, we'll do letter C together, and then I think I'll probably just have you do the rest on your own because that's one of your assignments is to complete these pages on your own. So letter C said, did Jack Frost paint on the window those icy designs? Who can tell me what the prepositional phrase is? Caitlin, are you? I couldn't tell if you were raising your hand. I think you're just cleaning. Okay. Spencer.
Get into that.
I'm behind.
On the window.
On the window. If you continue to unmute yourself, then I'll have to just remove you from the meeting. All right, so on the window is our prepositional phrase. On is the preposition, and window is the object of the preposition. The is an adjective that is modifying window. Okay, so next is our subject. Who can tell me what the subject is? Hey, Kai, you need to put the pizza down until we're done with our meeting, please. What is the subject, Brooks?
Jack Frost.
Jack Frost is the subject. What did he do? Tell me what the predicate verb is, James.
Specifically, Declan.
James, can you tell me what the predicate verb is? You having some problems? I'm gonna call on somebody else. Predicate verb for this sentence. Hi.
Did paint.
So did is a helping verb. Predicate verb. And then mark something before we did. The direct object is. Object. I need And then those I see, both of those are describing the design, so that means they are adjectives. Guys complete on your own. Some of you might have already completed these pages. You just have to go ahead and complete sentence B and analyze that. And we'll do that after our meeting. And then fix the sentences with correct capitalization and list 9 prepositions. Okay, so that's all you have to do to complete these pages. And complete those after our meeting. So now, your grammar workbook away. I expect these pages to be return. I will be checking. So make sure you do finish. Okay, grammar work away. It's just a piece of notebook paper and a pencil. Write yours on a piece of paper. These questions are on Right Thinker. So, Right Thinker. May not be all of the questions.
Hold on, come on. Stop. What the hell?
Make sure you've got a piece of paper. I'm going to click on Right Thinker really quickly just to see for sure.
What paper is that?
You just need a blank piece of paper. You're not going to have this paper because it's at school. Okay, let me stop sharing for just a second, and I'm going to make sure that we go over the questions that are on Right Thinker. Okay, so y'all just wait patiently. And after we complete that our math is the last thing we're doing for today. We'll be done. Okay, so on Bright Thinker, there's a question about Lynn and Linda, and I believe we did that one in class. And no, okay, yeah, all these questions are on Bright Thinker, so we'll go over them together to make sure that you know how to do them. Okay, so let me go ahead and share my screen again and get my camera back up here. Okay, so make sure you just have a piece of blank paper. It could be notebook paper, printer paper, whatever you have to write on. Okay. This first question says Steve has 6 baskets, and each basket has 8 toy cards. How many toy cards are there in all? Okay, so he's got 6 baskets, and each of the basket has 8 toy cards in it. To figure out how many cards there are, what kind of calculation are we going to do for this problem? Is it going to be multiplication, division? Probably not addition or subtraction at this moment because it's just one step. Which one do you think, multiplication or division? Kai, what do you think?
Multiplication?
It is multiplication, okay? So let's go ahead and draw our bar. There are 6 baskets, okay? So we've got to split our bar into 6 pieces, okay? 6 baskets, and there are 8 toy cards in each basket, okay? So we know each one has 8. 6 baskets with 8 in each. Okay, so who can tell me what our multiplication equation will be? Brooks?
It's 6 times 8.
6 times 8.
And also, what if you've already done the entire thing, except for, like, even the ones that we did at school?
Okay, if you've already done the entire thing, that's great, but you still want to listen and write these down just in case you maybe did them incorrectly, okay? 6 times 8, you can tell me what the answer to 6 times 8 is. Eliana?
6 times 8 equals 48.
48. So they have, or Steve has 48 toy cars in all. We need to write that as a sentence down here where it says final sentence. You guys need to write this on your paper. Okay, so our final sentence is Steve
The
has,
teacher is glitchy for me, but everyone else isn't.
remember I said if you're having problems, then just log off and log back in. Please do not announce to the class because that's a
I already did.
Declan. Steve has 48 toy cards. And that's our final sentence. This one was a pretty simple problem, just one step. If I'm glitchy, I'm sorry. It's probably because there's so many people on this meeting. Okay, sometimes that just happens. If you feel like you need me to send you the recording after we're done, then I can definitely do that. Okay. Okay, so that's our first question completed. I'll give you a second to make sure you got that written down. You don't have to write the question, just write the work to show. And I'm going to go ahead and scoot it up to move on to the next problem. Okay, and this is our last problem, but it is 2 steps. Okay, so listen as I read it. Fred has 6 times as many rocks as Philip. They have 42 rocks in all. Okay, so for this first step, we have to figure out how many rocks does Philip have. Okay, so Fred has 6 times as many. They have 42 all together. Okay, so we've got Philip and Fred. Philip and Fred. Fred has, first of all, we don't know how much Philip has. Okay, so we're just going to draw his box and put a question mark. But we do know that Fred has 6 times the amount of Philip. Like I said, boys and girls, if you're having issues or I'm cutting out, I can always send you the video. Do not worry. And so all together, Philip and Fred have 42 rocks. We're trying to figure out, first of all, how many rocks Philip has. In order to do that, are we going to multiply, divide? What are we going to do? Raise your hand if you can tell me. Jack?
We need to divide 42 by 7.
Yeah, since they have 42 all together and there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 units, we have to divide 42 by 7 to get the amount that Philip has. Okay, so 42 divided by 7 should be a fact that you guys know. Who can tell me what 42 divided by 7 is? Camden?
6.
42 divided by 7 is 6. So that means Philip has 6 rocks. Okay, so our final sentence is going to be Philip has 6 rocks. That's the answer to the first part of the question. Okay, but there is a second part, and I'll answer that in just a second. But I want to make sure you have time to write this down because it is part of your review. Okay, so let's move on to the second part of the question. And I can always take a picture of this and send it out so you guys have it, or send you the video from today. The next question says, how many rocks does Fred have? Okay, so we know each one of those units from earlier is going to be 6. Okay, and Fred had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Here I go every time.
To figure out how much Fred has, all we have to do is take away Philip's amount from the total. Okay, so remember we had 42 rocks total. Okay, that was our total. And Philip has 6. We just have to figure out how much we have left after we take away 6 from 42, and that's going to tell us Fred's amount. Okay, and this is how our subtraction bar model would look. We know the total, we know one of the amounts, but we don't know the other amount. That's our question mark. So 42 minus 6 is a pretty easy subtraction problem. Who can tell me what the answer would be if we have 42 minus 6? Spencer?
26.
26?
Oh,
Let's see. We have 2 minus 6, which we cannot do, so we have to regroup. Okay. 12 minus 6 is 6, and 3 minus nothing is 3. So you were,
36.
yeah, you were
My
just
bad.
10 off. You were close. I think maybe you just made a little mistake. That's okay. 36, that's how much Fred has. Okay, so for our final sentence, I sure hope you're writing these down. Our final sentence is going to be Fred has 36 rocks.
Miss Damron, there was a math review and I didn't complete it because it didn't let me do the bar models.
Okay, well, in the box, it's not going to let you draw the bar models on the computer. You would just have to post a picture, and I'll make sure that you're able to post a picture for the test. But I'm just going to trust that you're drawing it, and in the box, all you have to do is write your final sentence as your answer. I think I wrote that in the instructions. So that's our last question on the review. All of these questions were on Right Thinker. Okay, so now you have all the work to go along with those, and you should be able to solve those on your own. The same exact questions on Bright Thinker. So as long as you wrote down these today, then you should be good to go. There is just one more short thing that I want to do before we move, or before we end the lesson for today.
What?
Oh, don't do that. Yeah, and there are a lot of students that I think are probably going to earn a prize when we come back to school, but there's been some that have been unmuting and doing silly things and things that I've told them not to do. We'll see. And really quickly before we go, I just want to review Yakio and Yaktum and Pono and Posatum. Okay, so first of all, Yakio and Yaktum, who can tell me what those roots mean? James?
It means throw.
It does mean throw. Good job. And there's a bunch of different derivatives that we learned. For example, eject means to throw out. Interject means to throw between. Object is to throw against. Objection, those are arguments thrown against a situation. Project is to throw forward. And projectile is a thing that you throw, like an arrow or a bullet, or a rock. And reject means to throw back. You will have a quiz tomorrow on Yakio and Yaktoon and Pono and Positune. Who can remind me what Pono and Positune mean? Pono and Positune. Alana, what do you think?
Lay put place.
Lay, put, place. Good. And the Pono and Positune words are actually in Right Thinker for you to review. And I think that with that, I'll add Yakio and Yaktoon so you have those words as well. So both of those, you need to make sure that you study those, or if you have your vocabulary cards that you're supposed to bring home, you can use those to study. But just remember, Pono and Positune, those mean lay, put, place, and Yakio and Yaktoon, that means to throw. And all of these words will be in Bright Thinker for you to review before you take your quiz tomorrow. Because there will be a quiz tomorrow, whether we're in school or whether we're virtual. Okay. I believe that's all that I have for you guys today. We've done literacy, spelling, language, and we did math. Okay, so just a reminder, on the first part of the review, there is fill in the, or matching, fill in the blank with the correct word. Keywords like 3 times as many or twice as many indicate that we'll use a comparison model. Okay, because that means you're going to have 2 bars. If we have a story problem that gives a total of 56 and we split it up into 8 units, we know that we'll be doing division. If we have a story problem that says Angie has 8 bookcases with 8 books on each bookcase or bookshelf, then we know that's going to be multiplication. And a part whole problem is a bar model that is drawn with just 1 bar. Comparison is 2 bars, part whole is 1. All right. And so I will either see you guys in class. I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
Bye.
In class tomorrow, or I'll see you again virtually.
Bye.
It'll
Bye.
probably, hey, hold on 1 second.
Bye.
It'll probably be, if we are virtual, it'll be at the same time. And the reason why I'm so late in the day is because my daughter's home and that's time. So that's the time, the only time that I'm able to teach virtually is when she's asleep. So, anyway, probably will be at noon tomorrow again if we are virtual again. Hopefully we're not crossed, but I'll look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow, whether it's in person or virtual. Okay, so make sure you
Guys.
What? See you tomorrow.
Bye. My mom got this pen at Walmart. It naturally forms like a heart.
Okay, bye.
My mom got this pen at Walmart. It naturally forms like a heart.